Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the 720 Drop Lab. I'm back in the garage and you guessed it, I am back on the 720. Today, let's continue our conversation about ground effects, Air Dam edition. If you've watched my video on how to build side skirts for a Nissan 720, then you'll know that I built the entire kit for my truck from scratch. So in this video, we'll talk about how to build the Air Dam. If you need a list of products, you can go to my side skirt video. It'll be the exact same products. In this video, I'll only talk about the additional products or materials I use for the Air Dam only. Okay, so in addition to the products that I use to build the side skirts, you're going to need a piece of 16th inch brown board. Now, what is brown board? Brown board is basically pegboard without the holes in it. Now, when you're using a router, brown board is probably the most commonly used wood for making templates. So you're going to need that. You're going to need a piece of 3/4 inch MDF. You're also going to need a router, which I have a router table, so that would work out best. Of course, some router bits. Now, router bits, you're going to need these types of bits. First bit we're going to use is this angled bit. Right there, you can see it has the bearing on the top, and that bearing is going to ride against our brown board, so we can then put that angle on our 3/4 inch. You're also going to need one of these flush trim bits. Same thing, it has the bearing on the top, it'll ride against the brown board, and it'll make a flush cut on whatever surface is under it. You're going to also need some green florist foam. You can get that on Amazon, you can get it at the crafting store. It's like these green blocks of foam, and they use it to stick the faux flowers in when they make flower arrangements. You're also going to need a 2x4 or 4x4, whichever one you have available, some wood screws, probably drywall screws, those will work out. You're going to need some glue, you're going to need a hot glue gun, and you're also going to need some body filler. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is make a template, and this template is going to be a copy of the shape of our bumper because our air dam is going to follow the contour of our bumper, so we need our template to be the same contour as the bumper. Now, the easiest way I found to trace the shape of the bumper onto the brown board so we can make the template is actually by taking the bumper off of the truck, flipping it upside down, and using that inside line, the same line that would run against the grill and the fenders, and trace that onto the brown board. And what you're going to find out is it comes up a little short because we want this to extend out to the edge of the fender in the wheel well. We want that line to extend out. So actually, when you make the template, you're going to have to extend that line out. I would just measure from the end of the bumper to the fender to find out how much longer you need to extend that line out. So we're going to take it, trace that shape, then you take a jigsaw and you're going to cut up to the line, not right on the line, but close to the line. After you've done that, I came back with a sander and then I sanded down to the line. So then I ended up with my template, and here it is right here. Which like I said, you can see it just follows the contour of the bumper. And like I said, your bumper is going to stop about right here. So you're going to need to extend that line down to where it would end up being actually past the fender. You need to go past the fender. Okay, so now you got your template made. The very first thing you want to do is make a second copy. You're going to need those two. Now, when we're looking at our air dam straight on, there's basically three lines. There's the top line, there's the bottom of it, and then there's the middle. So we're going to use our template and vary the widths of it to create those three lines. So with the very first line, which is at the top, we need to measure how wide our bumper is, the outside width of our bumper. So once we got that measurement, we go to our template and we're going to cut it in the center, cut it right down the middle, measure our template, get the center line, cut it in half. Then we're going to spread it out and use that second template and some double stick tape to stick it together. Now we've got that, we're going to take that over to the router table and we're going to cut another piece, and that's going to end up being our first line right under the bumper or the top of our air dam. Okay, we got that one. So let's skip to the bottom line. Now with the bottom line, what I did is I measured the width of my tires because I didn't want my kit to go past my tires. I wanted it to be just inside. So once you get that measurement, what I did is I subtracted an inch. That way my kit will sit in a ½ inch on each side in front of the tires. So again, we go back to our template that we made. We can take it apart, readjust the width of it, stick them back together, take that over to the router table, and cut the template for the bottom. So now we have the one in the center. Now the way I figured out the center, because both of my side skirts were already mounted, all I needed to do was look at my side skirt, and you can see in this video where I drew the line on the side skirt and then I determined how far from the edge the side skirt was in, basically before it got to the point, that corner where it would have met the, what do you call that? The rocker panel. Once I figured out that measurement, then I went back to my template, adjusted it, stuck it back together, and cut that third panel. So now I have all three pieces. Now it's time to start assembling it. So now we need to determine how tall we want our air dam to be. Now both of my side skirts were already mounted, so I just went to my truck, I measured from the bottom of the side skirt to the ground. I believe it came out to be 8 inches. So then of course I go to the front, I measure the bottom of the bumper down to the ground, and then I subtract the 8 inches, and that tells me how tall my air dam needs to be. Okay, so now we have our templates for all three lines, the top, the bottom, and the middle. So now at the bottom, it's going to be a 3/4 inch piece of MDF. So you want to take that bottom template, transfer that into 3/4 inch MDF. At the top, there's actually going to be a piece of 3/4 inch MDF and a 1/16 inch piece of brown board. So that template for the top, you need to transfer that into 3/4. So you got two pieces at the top, one piece at the bottom, and one piece in the middle. Now the line in the middle, or the piece in the middle, is just going to be the 1/16 inch brown board. So now we got all those pieces, we need to put it together. Now that center line that comes around the very bottom of the scoop, I didn't want it to just have this stagnant line all the way across. I kind of wanted it to be higher on the sides and then kind of get narrower in the middle, and then of course get wider as it went back around. So I used the side skirt, the measurement of the side skirts, to figure out how tall it needed to be on the sides. And then in the middle, I brought it down. I don't know, I think it ended up dropping, whatever the height was on the side, it ended up dropping a whole inch down in the front, and then of course sliding back up as it went around. Because like I said, it gave it more movement, it gave it a better profile rather than just be the same. It's like the side skirts have that same profile all the way around. I wanted the front to change a little bit. Now let's talk about how I created the recess portion in the front, which I'm going to call the smile. So I knew at the top I wanted it to sit in a 1/2 inch, and at the bottom I wanted it to sit in 1/4 inch. So what I did is at the top, remember, there's a 3/4 inch piece of MDF and there's a 1/16 inch piece of brown board. Now before you attach those together, if you look at the part lights, there's actually 2 chambers in there, and there's a line in between the 2 chambers. So that line was the line I used. I measured across the bumper to figure out how wide that was. Now I find the center of my template, I mark that, and then I take the 1/16 inch one, I put it on top of the 3/4 one, and I pull it back a 1/2 inch. Stick it down with double stick tape, go to my router, and route that out. Now I have like this recess at the top of the 3/4 inch one. And then I put the 1/16 inch one on top of it, glue that down, screw it all together. So now I got this like pocket under there. Okay, so now at the top we have a notch, and at the bottom I added another piece, which would be a stop. So now I needed to figure out the shape of the piece of brown board that's going to be the back. That's going to be the back of the smile. I need to figure out what that's going to be. So I actually used poster board to do that. I just took a piece of poster board, cut it, shaped it until it sat in there. Then I took that over to a piece of brown board, traced it, cut it out, and I had the perfect shape. Because remember, the bottom line is actually arched, so it's not linear, it's going to be arched. So the template needs to follow that line. So got that, put it in brown board, mounted it. Then I created what I call my hockey sticks. That's the actual side of the smile. That's the part that kind of comes down and then it arches and it goes to the center. And again, it comes down and it falls as it goes down. So I had to create them for the left and I had to create them for the right. And I think I ended up creating 4, like it was a stack. Once I created the shape, transferred that into brown board, I then made, I want to think it was 8 copies of it because they needed to stack up. So once I created the 8, they're just mirrors of each other, so either one could go on either side. And then I went and actually glued and screwed them down because remember they're being curved. So I had to glue and screw them down on both sides. Came back the next day, took the screws out after the glue was dry. So now we have our basic skeleton for our plug. Now we're going to have to fill in the voids. What I used was, again, the green crafting foam and some hot glue just to glue those blocks in place. And after they were glued in place and dried, I came back with a knife and I actually shaved it down to the shape I wanted. Now we have our basic shape. Now I'm going in with body filler to fill in all the places that I couldn't use the green foam and to also fill in like any voids in the foam from where I cut it too deep or cut it too shallow. After I got all that done, the template was completely covered in that silver or aluminum air conditioning tape. I completely covered it with that. And again, remember I told you, all of those lines are going to transfer to the mold and to your part, and you're going to have to sand them out later. Now keep in mind, the top of the Nissan bumper is flat, but the bottom of it has a slight angle to it. And you need to figure out that angle and add that to the top of your air dam plug. So once you've figured out that angle, now we can start to assemble it. Now on the bottom of your plug, we're going to use the router bit that we talked about in the beginning of the video, and we're going to put a 60-degree angle on the bottom of that 3/4 inch piece of board. Now on the top, again, we're going to use another router bit similar to this, and we're going to put a 70-degree bevel on the top of that bumper. So remember, on the bottom, it's a 60-degree bevel, and on the top, it's going to be a 70-degree bevel. Now, when you go to mount the top of your plug, remember, it needs to have an angle that matches the bottom of your bumper. If not, then your air dam is going to be kicked up like this, and you want it to be flat. Or I wouldn't mind to be flat. If you want it to be kicked up, then make it flat at the top and flat at the bottom, and your truck's going to kick it out like that automatically when you mounted it. I wanted mine to be flat, so I incorporated that angle at the top of my plug so it sat level with the rest of my kit. So like in our side skirt process, the process I'm going to use is to make a plug, then make a mold of that plug, make a part from that mold, take it to my truck, mount it, and then refine it to the shape I want it to be. What I want to do then is I want to close in the sides. When you make a mold, you got to keep in mind, if the shape of your mold goes past 90 degrees, what I mean by that, the top of your mold part can be flat and then it can go down, which is 90 degrees straight down. But if it goes past 90 degrees, you're going to have to use a multiple part mold. I didn't want to do that. So what I did, mine arched and then it went down. So I wasn't going to be able to make the part that wrapped around the fenders in the mold. I was going to make that on the truck. And just like in the first video, I just took some of that I think it's corrugated plastic. It's like plastic cardboard, put, PVA on there along with gel coat and fiberglass, and then took the air dam over there and just set it in it and let those parts bond to the air dam, took it off, put it on the truck, drilled the holes inside the inner fender, did those mounting, and then of course after that it was just body work, body work, body work, body work. But I got it fixed, painted, and there you go. Hey guys, that does it for this video. Again, thanks for watching the channel. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. You got any questions, post them below. I'll do my best to answer it. So until next time,